We have had the pleasure in the last number of months of having several visits from a GOP presidential candidate, a man who stands out amongst the rest. I have to point out he is truly fair and balanced in a very real non-Fox-like way. In fact, his general demeanor, his sense of fair play, all the things that you and I might imagine is what we actually want in somebody. He is representing that under a party that doesn't typically show that side of life. We often see the GOP as being rather extreme. You know, if you happen to think that women ought to be able to, I think you know what I mean. This guy, Fred Karger, is with us right here, right now. And Fred, it's always a treat to have you on because you give me hope. Hope! In our bifurcated, you know, weird left, right, who knows what's going on, you actually show us once again that you can have a political appetite and actually represent the humans, the residents of our little planet. You're that guy.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you know, I'm kind of a dying breed, which I hope to resurrect. I call myself a moderate. I use the M word without hesitation in my commercials, in my speeches, and I get applauded. And, you know, there's a generation or two that have left moderate Republican partydom because they feel the party's left them, and I want to include them and bring them back and welcome them back and bring younger people in.
Yeah, I mean, you're what Clint Eastwood, who we talked to about a month ago, he said he was an Eisenhower Republican. And an Eisenhower Republican feels a little bit like you, I think. It's like, well, people work hard, they should make money, the government should probably not be in their bedroom, recycling probably seems like a good idea. Helping old ladies across the sidewalk seems like a good idea. You seem like that kind of Eisenhower Republican.
You know, I think of myself more as an Eastwood Republican. He's a lot cooler. But was a elected official. He was the mayor of Carmel, and always obviously been one of my political and entertainment heroes. So no, that's good to hear.
Let's take a peek at tomorrow. As I understand it, you're having breakfast or brekkie with Mr. Mitt Romney in Michigan, where you are right now. And the Mitt Romney has been extraordinarily helpful to the Mormon Church. He has raised plenty of money for them and has put them aggressively and magnificently in a wonderful, powerful I want to say physician, but really it's position, missionary or otherwise, to do a lot of Disney magic for the residents of Earth. And you're going to be having breakfast with him tomorrow. The Mormon Church, we think, at least according to a press release that you put out today, your website, your Fred Karger for President website, this is not, you know, a little PayPal account somewhere. This is a big presidential candidacy account, suddenly vanished poof before the New Hampshire primary, and I'm guessing you paid the $42 a year for the website to be up.
Well, yeah, it was a lot more than that. They had Tim Pawlenty's website. They do Ron Paul's website. They're one of the best web platforms developers in the world. They're called Terra Eclipse NetBoots. They're out of Aptos, California. I met with them. I spent over tens of thousands of dollars, I put it, in the development. And, you know, they did a lot of great work for me and a wonderful working relationship. Well, I came up with a website because, as you know, I've been very aggressive against the Mormon Church because they're the ones who have led the effort nationally against all marriage equality efforts in every single state. I'm the one that busted them in California. I got secret documents showing their involvement going back to Hawaii in 1995 and all 31 states where we've lost. They've been involved. They're still fighting. So my goal is to get them out of the gay marriage business. If I'm successful and others that are doing that, we win because they're the biggest adversaries. So as part of the education, as I like to do, I put a site together mostly for the media called Top 10 Craziest Mormon Beliefs. And it got 7,000 views the first hour it was up. I put it out. It was very controversial. It explains a lot of the beliefs because the executive director, managing director rather, the Mormon Church, Michael Otterson, who's attacked me many times, said the public doesn't know enough about the church, so I thought I would help acquaint the public with the Mormon Church. And as a result of this website done on a different platform in a different state, nothing to do with FredKarger.com, 2 days later they kicked me to the gutter and put me in a very difficult position 5 days before the New Hampshire primary. So I wanted to wait till I got back on my feet. A friend put a website together. We're almost back to where we were, but I wanted to blow the whistle on this terror eclipse because this weekend is the Republican State Convention in California. The terror eclipse will be there, and I'll make sure that other candidates don't make the mistake I did and sign up with them.
You know, it's important that you say that. In a general sense, that would be restriction of trade. That would be considered a very illegal and horrifying thing for me to knock your website off when you're running a business or whatever you want to call it, the business of helping us out because there was some kind of political difference. I imagine they gave you an official reason why, even though you'd paid for the website, you had to suddenly be canceled midterm. What possibly brings down a website other than kiddie pornography, which we know you have nothing to do with?
Well, you know, and on their site, I never made mention of top 10 craziest mormonreliefs.com. I kept it separately. I signed my name to it, but I never referenced it. They, after a strong urging, a lot of calls, a lot of emails to first appeal to their sense of fairness to at least not shut me down till the New Hampshire primary was over. But of course, their goal was to cause destruction. So their official line they gave me in a letter, and I published that in my release today, was something to the effect of, you know, you're disparaging of faith, and we cannot cooperate with anyone who chooses to do that. Well, you know, that is my personal freedom of speech. I did nothing illegal. Everything I do is run by my political and compliance attorneys, and I kept it separate from them. So, you know, of course, a little research, their biggest client is Senator Mike Lee, who is a very famous Mormon from Utah. He's their junior Republican senator, and I know the Mormon Church is watching everything I'm doing, and so, you know, they went out of their way to do damage to the Karger campaign like they did 3 years ago when they subpoenaed me in this federal case they had in Sacramento, tried to ruin me and cost me a lot of money. I raised money in my legal defense fund. We prevailed. I was not deposed. I was not subpoenaed. It was finally dropped. And so, you know, I have to fight some pretty big guns in this battle, Harrison, including the Mormon Church, the National Organization for Marriage, but I'm prepared to do it. I want to get these people to be transparent and abide by election laws if they can participate, and otherwise you're going to have Fred Karger to deal with.
Well, and we get to deal with Fred Karger, and thank you for standing up for these basic principles that we all believe in. You know, one of the things that Santorum did the other day during the debate, of which not been allowed to participate, not from lack of desire on your part, not for a stretch. You're going to be in the Michigan primary. You've shown up for that. You were in the state as you were in New Hampshire and other places. So you definitely go well and beyond more than showing up. It's the incredible solid wall that they put down, because the very stuff you articulate is really also about the process. And the process is what all of us are wanting to know. Why is this happening this way? And you're one of the guys actually talking about it. Santorum got in a little trouble the other day talking about how the Senate actually works, right? And this is not what they want to hear, is it?
Well, no, you know, it turns out he's not quite as conservative as he makes out to be. You know, he's pork beller galore. He brought so much money to Pennsylvania, and, you know, yet criticizes President Obama for the deficit. You know, so he's one of these people I like to call a bigotcrite, which is a word I came up with. I've got in a couple dictionaries, and that, of course, I define bigotcrite as someone who is both a bigot and a hypocrite. It was really designed for Maggie Gallagher, the former chair and founder of the National Organization for Marriage, and that name really fits her, but it applies to people like Rick Santorum. You know, he has gone out of his way to be destructive, to cause damage and harm to the LGBT community, particularly to our youth. I called him out on it when I spoke on the same platform as he did at the Hillcrest County Republican dinner 4 days before that state's primary. And, you know, I did because he had a confrontation with a college student at New England College a few days before, and I took him to task. And one of the reasons I want to get in that debate is to be that conscience of the Republican Party, to represent my community, and just fairness and reasonableness, and just quit the gay bashing, quit destroying lives. So, you know, I'm now one of 5 candidates still in this race. We lost Buddy Roemer yesterday, so I'm now one of 5 Republican candidates on the California ballot. I'm one of 5 on the New York ballot. I just found out about that Tuesday. I'm in Maryland, I'm in North Carolina, and Puerto Rico, and Michigan on Tuesday. And Michigan is great because anyone can vote. They have an open primary. So my new commercial, which is up on my website, fredkarger.com, got to get the plug in. It's a very kind of, I even call it somewhat unethical in politics. I talk about it's okay to vote for President Obama in November, but to vote for me now, because these Democrats and independents who identify that way in Michigan have no alternative. It's Obama or Obama. He's unopposed on the Democratic side. So why even show up to vote? But you could show up on Tuesday in Michigan and vote for Fred Karger and send a powerful message of inclusion, of moderation, certainly of, civil liberties to the Republican Party.
And with Buddy Roemer gone, you really, you're it. You are the other guy. And many of us are trying to reconcile the current Republican Party, and this is not to say all Republicans, definitely not, but it's the public face of the Republican Party, because the only public face we have is, Newt Gingrich, people like that. That's the public face. Really extreme, somewhat cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, the Ron Pauls, all these other people, that's the public face. It really feels rather extreme. And here you come in as saying, I am your grandfather's Republican. Is there room for that still in the Republican Party today?
Harrison, particularly in Michigan, which had great governors like George Romney, William Milliken, very moderate Republicans like my home state of Illinois with Jim Thompson and Governor Ogilvie. This is the very different party now. And so what I'm coming across, and I saw a lot of it in New Hampshire, some in Iowa, certainly a lot in Michigan, are unhappy former Republicans, people who've left the party because the party's left them. And, they're so excited to see somebody who's talking about, the Republican Party being pro-choice, because we do advocate keeping government out of our lives. Well, what's more intrusive to a woman than government telling her what she can do with her reproductive organs? So I'm advocating that. I'm advocating marijuana legalization. I think that is a good kind of libertarian Republican way of helping to balance our budget, cut down on our prison population, and cut down on drug use. I think it'll actually have a positive effect like it has in the Netherlands. So, I'm a very different kind of Republican as I go, and I've spoken to over 25 colleges just in the last week. Spoke at 6 yesterday, one day alone in Michigan. These students, they could care less about the social issues. They want to know if there's going to be a job waiting for them. So they love my 7-point jobs plan. They want to know if I'm going to reform education, how I'm going to cut tuition and higher education. I spoke at the Michigan Law School today, University of Michigan, about 50 or 60 students there. And their concerns are far different. And once they kind of get a little used to the R description of me that I am a Republican, because it's just, it's got such a bad name now, they embrace what I'm doing, and I'm very excited about it. I'm trying to bring some reasonableness, some Clint Eastwoodness, make my day kind of action to the Republican Party.
Harrison with you. We are talking to GOP presidential candidate Fred Karger. Fred is the moderate face, the moderate voice, the moderate moderation of the current GOP. This is not to say that out of 307 million Americans, there aren't tens and tens and tens of millions of normal, breathing, recycling, kind-hearted Republicans. We simply never get public access to them from the way that these candidates outside of Fred present what the Republican Party is, and quite clearly it's not the case. And Fred, here you are. You don't talk about sex, by the way. I've noted this in every conversation with you. Unless I bring it up, it ain't happening in the dialogue. Yet, with Newt Gingrich, with Romney, with Santorum, all it is sex talk, whether it's naked gay men, whether it's intravaginal probes. It's all about contraception and intercourse and interfrastication and paliardizing and rumbusticating o flagrante and buggery and sodomy and fellatio. And that's all it is. It's the blowjob platform with these people. That's all it is. When you break it down, it's who's sleeping with whom, and by God, I'm not getting any. And I'm wondering, is it really just a bunch of old white guys that are really repressed and bringing the church in because that sort of magnifies an ancient bullhorn? Because I don't see anything other than that. If they had their way, we would all be, well, we'd be the Taliban.
You know, it's rolling back the clock a couple centuries. You know, a guy like Rick Santorum, who is so insistent on family values, and there can be no single parents, there can certainly be no same-sex parents. You know, that has to be undone. If you happen to be gay or lesbian, you have to marry someone of the opposite sex, even if you're not attracted. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I like to say not every family can have a mom and a dad and 7 children like the Santorums. You know, this is a different world. We have blended families. We have courageous single parents who face very difficult odds. We have 2 moms and 2 dads, which are more common than ever and more accepted. Actually, you know, the cooler the cooler kids, people are jealous of these 2 moms and 2 dad families. So, you know, this Republican Party, and he's not an old guy, he's got teenage kids, you know, I think his children must be embarrassed to hear their father speak like that. So, you know, I want to be this conscience. I want to reflect this new modern way we're doing things. I'm strong on family, though. I think it is important. It's a backbone, whether it is a same-sex couple or a single parent. But family is the essence of this country. I'm not anti-family. I'm as pro-family as you will find. But the families have changed, and a society like ours needs to adapt to that. So, you know, I'm there. I want that platform in those debates or on the same podium as some of these candidates to try and keep them in check. You know, I'm not wearing the fact that I am the first openly gay candidate for president on my sleeve, although I do wear it on my lapel whenever I have a suit on, which I do every day.
Wow.
I wear my rainbow flag. That's a little subtle. Everybody looks at it. I have people like pointing to me. I met Sheldon Adelson, you know, the $25 billion man. I was at his hotel at a conference, and he goes up to me and he's poking me. He goes, "What's that? What's that?" And I have American flag and a rainbow flag I was wearing. I go, "You know, it's the rainbow flag, the rainbow flag." So, you know, I'm kind of subtly in the face of people who are very much against the way I was born and who I am, and I'm trying to change their mind on things. I'm having some effect, believe it or not.
Fred, let's talk for just a brief moment about false assumptions. And when I say that, the Santorum argument that somehow we're all living in Montana, population 100 in some little town in the middle of nowhere, and of course everybody's white. And I'm sure everyone belongs to the same Methodist church. There, that's America. And it's a false argument. All you have to do is get in your automobile and get on the interstate, and it doesn't look like this fantasy. Now, I'm wondering, if you have a ton of money, which at the end of the day, I think the end game for these people is to obviously cash and prizes. Otherwise, why bother with all of this stuff? So if you've got the kind of money Rick Santorum has, it really is about defending his fantasy, his lifestyle, that he can afford to have 7 children, send them all to college. But there's not a level playing field for the other hundreds, plural, of millions of us in America to live at that level. And I don't think he would want us to have access to that level because he probably thinks he would lose something if we actually climbed up. I'm just thinking about the mentality there.
You know, hard to say. I mean, he talks about his grandfather in the coal mines. I'm the only candidate running who hasn't had a grandparent in a coal mine, I think, or even Ann Romney, one-upsmanship here. You know, her grandfather apparently worked in the coal mines too. So you would think someone who's come from very humble belongings would, and has been successful and has worked, I'm sure, very hard to get there, would have a much more open outlook. You know, I'm a guy, and I was very lucky. I grew up in a nice suburban area with great schools and kind of a leave it to beaver upbringing. I really don't know firsthand what it's like, what Michelle Obama went through and how she grew up, you know, 25 miles away from me in the projects. And so, you know, I have great empathy. I've done a lot of volunteer work. I've been on boards. I've worked with inner city kids, so I have a little taste, but nothing like people are living at. But I want prosperity. I want these parents who are struggling to get their kids to a better school, to have better schools to send them to. I support, you know, these public schools that are charter schools like we have done so well in California. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting better education. Arnie Duncan, whom I've met with, has come up with great ideas, and the foundation for this country, for prosperity, to get rid of bigotry, is education. And it's something I've been crusading long and hard for, because I said it in my very first speech when I announced my candidacy 2 years ago, almost in New Orleans, that is my number one concern, because while the jobs and economy takes precedence now, of course, we've got to fix our broken education system so we can get rid of a lot of the bad things going on and have a better life for everybody in this country.
So, Fred Karger, you're running for president, GOP. You're an openly gay candidate. And I love getting into the mind of the other candidates. It makes you stick out more. That's my goal. I'm not looking just for psychotherapy here, although I do appreciate and enjoy that, of course, personally. Free shrinking, it's a good deal. Why do these other guys, there's you, who's moderate, who's talked about jobs, who's talked about a level playing field, these very American concepts. Why do the other guys not want people seemingly to have jobs, not want to have civil rights, not want to have freedoms, not want to have any of the basic template of what we call Americanism? Why are they so against everything everyone believes in? How is this possible?
You know, everyone likes to look down on someone. It's kind of human nature. We've got still have a lot of racists in this country. It makes people feel better to think that, they're better than other people. I don't know. I can't get in their heads too much, but, education is a big solution to that, meeting people. We're seeing the numbers, and I was a political consultant. I was in charge of moving public opinion. That's what we do in politics and political campaigns. And, what we're seeing in the gay civil rights movement, for instance, the acceptance, the embracing is just so dramatically changed for one reason only, and that's because it's now so comfortable in so many places, still not everywhere, but for people to come out and be who they are at a very young age. And Harrison, I get letters and emails. I have people coming up to me, teenagers, young teenagers, even grammar, our junior high, middle school, that are realize who they are, and they're coming out to their families. Bam, hey mom, dad, I'm gay. Coming out at school, these courageous young people, and what happens? Their parents, who might be super religious and very anti-gay and anti-gay marriage, like, well, wow, Johnny's gay. I want him to be happy. I'm for gay marriage. I'm for partner benefits, and it's changing so dramatically, and I get so inspired. And I had a situation today. A young man came up to me at the Michigan Law School, just came out, and thanked me for what I'm doing, and talked about how his family is coming around. And I have people opening up to me. I should have gotten a psychology degree or something, because a lot of people do seek my counsel, and I've heard some of the most horrific and also some of the most wonderful stories. So these courageous people who are watching you or watching me and reading and studying and seeing all these wonderful role models now, athletes and brilliant people and Congress people and sheriffs and everybody else coming out, that makes things so much better. And it's the only way to live. I had a very difficult time coming out. I'm 62, so growing up in the 50s and 60s was not easy. There were no role models. I had Liberace or Paul Lynde, and I didn't relate.
Hey, Dr. Smith.
Who was Dr. Smith?
Lost in Space.
Oh, Lost in Space. I was a little older then. Yeah, and so now it's a much easier environment. But then for every 2 or 3 stories I hear how great things are, I'll hear 1 or 2 how their families have thrown them out of the house, or they go to church when they go back to see their grandmother, and the grandmother takes them to church so the minister or preacher can lecture them on this deviant lifestyle. And it's in front of a whole congregation. I mean, there's so many things. And of course the Mormon Church, probably the biggest offender in this regard, because it's all right, apparently now they've softened their language, they can be gay, but you can't act on it. So we don't want you to be happy. You either marry someone of the opposite sex, or you stay alone your whole life. So that is so slowly changing because of a lot of opposition. So things are looking better in a lot of areas. A lot of discrimination, not just against the LGBT community. This country will rally. We'll get out of this recession. We will have a better place for the next generation. We just have to tackle our deficit and a few other serious problems, and we'll be just fine.
I amen to that, Fred Karger. As I recall, and as we wrap this up, when the Prop 8 issue was really at its peak a couple of years ago, I remember the Mormon Church changed the signage. You're familiar with Los Angeles. You're familiar with Santa Monica Boulevard, toward Santa Monica from the east side, you pass the Mormon temple, this extraordinary erection bursting from the ground in the middle of Santa Monica Boulevard. It's got to be 30 stories high in this Art Deco shaped. I mean, it's extraordinary looking with a gold top, this green lawn that's acres. This is LA, acres of green. It's weird looking, right? That's the Mormon temple with a big wrought iron gate in front of it. You are not welcome in here. And I remember noting that during the whole Prop 8 thing, they changed their sign, which in the front, emblazoned, used to say, Church of the Latter-day Saints and Jesus Christ, right? Little tiny Jesus. Now it's the Church of Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints. Total inversion to mainstream themselves. And, they're still doing the same thing, but it's just whitewashing it. And thank you for reminding us that the emperor may, in fact, be naked.
Or wearing white. They have a huge PR problem, which I take some credit for, which is their number one concern. They have a public affairs department with literally hundreds of people. Because of the investigation I got of the Mormon Church by our Fair Political Practice Commission, they released the names of 75 church employees who worked on Prop 8, 75 church employees working on Prop 8, in addition to the $40 million campaign. So you can imagine what they could be doing for the Romney campaign. This is gay marriage in one state. What about electing the first Mormon president of the United States? They've been trying since their first Mormon, Joseph Smith, ran for president 180 years ago.
If Newt Gingrich wants to establish a base on the moon, then wouldn't Romney want to establish one on the planet Kolob?
I have heard that if he wins this thing, he's been promised king of the universe. And I think I actually believe that. He is so driven in this race. It's very interesting because, here's someone who does not enjoy campaigning, does not like people. He wants to be in a boardroom or maybe with his family. He's very robotic. What is motivating him? And I'm convinced it's his faith. It would be quite an accomplishment. And he is getting tremendous amount of help. You saw Santorum refer to that. This debate was in Mesa, Arizona, which is a majority Mormon community. That was held in Arizona this week, and a lot more cheering for Romney, and Santorum even kind of in the CNN wrap-up interview referenced that. So it's a very, very well-organized community. I promise you, every single Mormon in the United States, 18 and above, is registered to vote. 96% of them are voting for Romney, so he's got a good leg up.
So, Fred Karger, you're going to be at a breakfast tomorrow morning with Mitt Romney. You're going to be the heart and soul of an elder of the Mormon Church, a guy who is the pinnacle of what they've been striving for decades, is to get one of their people in the White House. The fear that they had in the 60s of Jack Kennedy bringing the Pope, the Vatican, into the White House, that did not happen. But much as we saw George Bush devote the Oval Office to his fundamentalist Christian buddies, Mitt doesn't seem to have any compunction about playing straight on that one. He's got quite a clear agenda there. You're going to be with him tomorrow. The Mormons have already inflicted all kinds of love on you through your website and the rest of it. What do you anticipate your interaction with him to be like tomorrow?
I don't know. He's got Secret Service now, and plus with the last few things we've shared the stage at, I've been at events together. He's just surrounded by mostly press. So I doubt I'll get to meet him, but I do hope to be on the stage with him. I'm going to talk about the auto bailout. I supported it. It saved this state. It helped save our country, I think, to a great extent. They're repaying their debt to the country, and he was opposing this and is bragging about it now and bragging about his anti-union stance, in a state that is very strong on unions. And, the Karger family, as I've been giving speeches here, goes back in Michigan 160 years. My great-grandfather, Simon Karger, settled the Upper Peninsula, started a sausage company, meatpacking company up there called S. Karger and Sons. So the Karger family history of Michigan goes a lot as farther back than the Romney family. They were heading west to Utah when the Kargers were settling this state. I hope to do well here. I'm concentrating in Lansing. Take a look at this great NPR piece that came out today. You can Google Fred Karger NPR talking about my strategy, our new commercial. I'm asking Michigan voters to cross party lines and to take a Republican ballot on Tuesday, vote for Fred Karger, send a message to the Republican Party. They're too far right. Clint Eastwood kind of guy. Make my day and vote for Fred Karger on Tuesday. And in California on June 5th.
Thank you. We're really happy to have you here. I'm hoping that you'll check back with us in a couple of weeks and give us an update on this. And if you do happen to have some interaction with Mitt Romney tomorrow at your breakfast, please give him my moist regards.
And the secret handshake to get into heaven. Thanks, Harrison. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care, Fred. Best of luck.
Goodbye.
Bye.
They do Ron Paul's website. They're one of the best web platforms developers in the world. They're called Terra Eclipse Net Boots. They're out of Aptos, California. I met with them. I spent over tens of thousands of dollars, I put it, in the development. And they did a lot of great work for me and a wonderful working relationship. Well, I came up with a website because, as you know, I've been very aggressive against the Mormon Church because they're the ones who have led the effort nationally against all marriage equality efforts in every single state. I'm the one that busted them in California. I got secret documents showing their involvement going back to Hawaii in 1995 and all 31 states where we've lost. They've been involved. They're still fighting. So my goal is to get them out of the gay marriage business. If I'm successful and others that are doing that, we win because they're the biggest adversaries. So as part of the education, as I like to do, I put a site together mostly for the media called Top 10 Craziest Mormon Beliefs. And it got 7,000 views the first hour it was up. I put it out. It was very controversial. It explains a lot of the beliefs because the executive director, managing director rather, of the Mormon Church, Michael Otterson, who's attacked me many times, said the public doesn't know enough about the church. So I thought I would help acquaint the public with the Mormon Church. And as a result of this website done on a different platform in a different state, nothing to do with FredKarger.com, 2 days later they kicked me to the gutter and put me in a very difficult position 5 days before the New Hampshire primary. So I wanted to wait till I got back on my feet. A friend put a website together. We're almost back to where we were, but I wanted to blow the whistle on this Terra Eclipse because this weekend is the Republican State Convention in California. Terra Eclipse will be there, and I'll make sure that other candidates don't make the mistake I did and sign up with them.
It's important that you say that. In a general sense, that would be restriction of trade. That would be considered a very illegal and horrifying thing for me to knock your website off when you're running a business or whatever you want to call it, the business of helping us out because there was some kind of political difference. I imagine they gave you an official reason why, even though you'd paid for the website, you had to suddenly be canceled. We have had the pleasure in the last number of months of having several visits from a GOP presidential candidate, a man who stands out amongst the rest. I have to point out he is truly fair and balanced in a very real non-Fox-like way. In fact, his general demeanor, his sense of fair play, all the things that you and I might imagine is what we actually want in somebody. He is representing that under a party that doesn't typically show that side of life. We often see the GOP as being rather extreme. If you happen to think that women ought to be able to, I think you know what I mean. This guy, Fred Karger, is with us right here, right now. And Fred, it's always a treat to have you on because you give me hope. Hope! In our bifurcated, weird left, right, who knows what's going on, you actually show us once again that you can have a political appetite and actually represent the humans, the residents of our little planet. You're that guy.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of a dying breed, which I hope to resurrect. I call myself a moderate. I use the M word without hesitation in my commercials, in my speeches, and I get applauded. And, there's a generation or two that have left moderate Republican partydom because they feel the party's left them, and I want to include them and bring them back and welcome them back and bring younger people in.
Yeah, you're what Clint Eastwood, who we talked to about a month ago, he said he was an Eisenhower Republican. And an Eisenhower Republican feels a little bit like you, I think. It's like, well, people work hard, they should make money, The government should probably not be in their bedroom. Recycling probably seems like a good idea. Helping old ladies across the sidewalk seems like a good idea. You seem like that kind of Eisenhower Republican.
I think of myself more as an Eastwood Republican. He's a lot, he's a lot cooler. But was a elected official. He was the mayor of Carmel, and always obviously been one of my political and entertainment heroes. So no, that's good to hear.
Let's take a peek at tomorrow. As I understand it, you're having breakfast or brekkie with Mr. Mitt Romney in Michigan, where you are right now. And the Mitt Romney has been extraordinarily helpful to the Mormon Church. He has raised plenty of money for them and has put them aggressively and magnificently in a wonderful, powerful, I want to say physician, but really it's position, missionary or otherwise, to do a lot of Disney magic for the residents of Earth. And you're going to be having breakfast with him tomorrow. The Mormon Church, we think, at least according to a press release that you put out today, your website, your Fred Karger for President website, this is not, a little PayPal account somewhere. This is a big presidential candidacy account, suddenly vanished poof before the New Hampshire primary. And I'm guessing you paid the $42 a year for the website to be up.
Well, yeah, it was a lot more than that. They had Tim Pawlenty's website.